The South China Sea is in the spotlight once again. Countries led by the US have stirred tensions under the guise of defending so-called freedom of navigation. CGTN's Feng Yilei reports how these actions violate international law and have threatened regional peace and stability.
The South China Sea is one of the world's busiest shipping lanes, accounting for over half of the world's merchant ships and a third of global maritime trade. Each year, more than 100,000 commercial vessels safely pass through this region. Despite the frequent Western rhetoric about threats to navigational freedom, there is a glaring lack of evidence. Contrast this with the Red Sea, where commercial shipping has faced severe security challenges due to Yemeni Houthi attacks, leading to skyrocketing insurance premiums. Insurance rates for the South China Sea remain stable. This speaks volumes about the confidence the international community has in the safety and freedom of navigation in this region.
When you talk about the Red Sea, it's about the civilian ships. But when you talk about South China Sea freedom of navigation, it's not about the commercial ships, it's about military, about American military vessels.
Under the pretext of freedom of navigation, U.S. military operations in the South China Sea often involve provocative maneuvers close to China's shores. These actions contravene the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or the UNCLOS, which emphasizes respecting the sovereignty of coastal states. Interestingly, the U.S., championing freedom of navigation, launched its Freedom of Navigation program in the late 1970s, before the UNCLOS was finalized. And it has yet to ratify UNCLOS, which now includes 168 signatory nations. It thereby sidesteps the responsibility the UNCLOS outlines.
It is formally stated by the Americans in their record that their objective is to contain China, and part of containing China means keeping them off these islands.
The UNCLOS allows coastal states to establish a 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone, but does not grant the right to infringe upon the inherent territorial sovereignty of other nations, meaning the Philippines' claim that the Huangyan Dao lies within its exclusive economic zone is fundamentally flawed. In recent encounters, Philippine vessels have repeatedly and deliberately collided with Chinese Coast Guard ships, despite numerous warnings and lawful actions by the Chinese Coastal Guard. The Philippine vessels have been seen accompanied by journalists portraying themselves as the victims of so-called obstruction and collision.
The Philippines believe that the South China Sea Arbitration Award provides a so-called international legal basis for its claim. Actually, in this case, the arbitral tribunal violated many basic principles of international law. The ruling has squeezed the political space for both sides.
The reality is clear. The South China Sea remains a stable and secure maritime route, and the evident threat to navigational freedom comes from militaristic posturing and hegemonic presence. Feng Yilei, CGTN, Beijing.